St. Petersburg, Russia. Fyodor Dostoevsky sits in a cramped apartment, writing by candlelight. He's just returned from Siberian exile. 4 years in a labor camp. 4 years of watching men break. Not from the work, not from the cold, but from something else. Something invisible. And as he writes, he realizes he's seen the future. He's seen you. Right now, in 2025. Scrolling. Disconnected. Searching for meaning in a world that offers you everything except a reason to exist. Dostoevsky wrote it down in Notes from Underground, in Crime and Punishment, in The Brothers Karamazov. He described with terrifying precision the exact crisis facing modern men, the paralysis, the resentment, the quiet desperation behind the screen. And over a century later, Jordan Peterson read those same words, and he understood. He understood why young men feel lost, why they can't commit, why they sense something is deeply, fundamentally wrong, but can't name it. Tonight, we name it. This is the Hidden Codex. Dostoevsky wasn't just a novelist. He was a prophet, a psychological archaeologist digging into the darkest corners of the human soul. Born in 1821, he lived through Russia's transformation, from feudalism to modernity, from faith to nihilism, from certainty to chaos. And he saw what that transition did to men, the ones who couldn't adapt, the ones who lost their anchors, the ones who retreated underground. Jordan Peterson, psychologist, professor, modern philosopher, he spent decades studying the same patterns. Why do men fail? Why do they give up? Why do they collapse into resentment and bitterness? And when he read Dostoevsky, he found the answer. Not in neuroscience, not in statistics, but in 19th century Russian literature. Because Dostoevsky had mapped it all. The psychology of the underground man. The man who knows too much, feels too deeply, and does nothing. Peterson calls this the crisis of meaning. Dostoevsky called it the sickness unto death. Same disease, different century, and it's worse now. Much worse. Before we go deeper, if you sense there's more to reality than productivity hacks and surface-level motivation, if you're ready to confront the uncomfortable truths about what's happening to men in this generation, subscribe to the Hidden Codex. Turn on notifications, because what comes next cannot be unlearned. Now, let's descend. Dostoevsky introduced the world to a character, the underground man, 1864. Notes from Underground. And this character, he's not a hero. He's not likable. He's bitter, resentful, intelligent, paralyzed. He lives alone, thinks too much, acts too little. He despises society, but craves its validation. He sees through everything, but builds nothing. And here's what's disturbing. Dostoevsky wrote him as a warning. He wrote, "I am a sick man. I am a spiteful man. I am an unattractive man." That's the opening line. Not metaphorical sickness. Spiritual sickness. The sickness of over-awareness, of hyper-consciousness, of knowing so much about the world's corruption that you become corrupt yourself. Not through action, through inaction. The underground man represents what happens when a man loses his narrative, when he can no longer believe in God, or progress, or love, or himself, when everything becomes ironic, cynical, meaningless. And Peterson saw this. He saw it in his clinical practice. Young men, intelligent, capable, sitting in his office, unemployed, unmarried, unmotivated, addicted to screens, addicted to comfort, paralyzed by awareness. They could see through every social game, every corporate lie, every empty relationship. And that clarity destroyed them. Because if nothing means anything, why do anything? That's the underground man's trap. Dostoevsky called it the disease of consciousness. You think too much, feel too little, and slowly you disappear. So, how does this show up today? Let's be specific. You're 25, maybe 30. You're smart. You see the game. You see that careers are often meaningless. Relationships are transactional. Social media is performative. Politics is theater. So, what do? Most men do this. They retreat. Into video games, into porn, into irony, into endless scrolling. They mock everything. Commit to nothing. They become underground. But if you understand Dostoevsky's warning, you see the trap. The underground man thinks his awareness makes him superior. It doesn't. It makes him weak, because awareness without action is just cowardice dressed as intelligence. Peterson puts it bluntly. You're not too smart for the world. You're too afraid. And here's what happens when you stay underground. Your energy dies. Your ambition fades. The world moves on. And you become the thing you feared most. Irrelevant. Forgotten. A ghost in your own life. That's the cost of the underground. Dostoevsky went deeper. In Crime and Punishment, he introduced Raskolnikov, a young man, brilliant, poor, isolated, and Raskolnikov develops a theory. He reads about Napoleon, about great men, men who transcend morality, who create their own values. And he thinks, maybe I'm one of them. So he tests it. He commits murder, an old pawnbroker, useless, parasitic. He convinces himself it's rational, utilitarian. He's freeing the world from a leech. But here's what Dostoevsky reveals. The moment Raskolnikov kills, he breaks. Not legally, psychologically. The guilt doesn't come from society's rules. It comes from something deeper. Something Raskolnikov didn't believe existed. Conscience, soul, the moral structure embedded in reality itself. Peterson explains it perfectly. He says, you cannot escape the moral dimension of existence. You can deny it, intellectually, philosophically, but you cannot live without it. Raskolnikov tried, and it destroyed him. He thought he could create his own values, but values aren't created. They're discovered in responsibility, in suffering, in humility, and when you try to live outside them, reality punishes you, not externally, internally, through unbearable guilt, through fragmentation of the self, through what Dostoevsky called the punishment of consciousness. Now, here's where it connects to 2025. How many young men today are trying to be their own Napoleons? Not through murder, through moral relativism. There's no objective truth. Morality is subjective. I define my own meaning. It sounds liberating. It's not. It's the same trap Raskolnikov fell into, because when you reject the moral structure of reality, reality doesn't disappear. It invades through anxiety, through emptiness, through the sense that something is deeply wrong, even when everything seems fine. Peterson calls this the return of the repressed. You can deny the sacred, but it comes back, in your dreams, in your breakdowns, in the unbearable weight of meaninglessness. Dostoevsky saw this coming. He saw a world where men would reject God, reject tradition, reject responsibility, and then wonder, why do I feel so lost? The answer is simple. You're not lost. You're underground, hiding from the very structure that could save you. But Dostoevsky didn't stop there. In The Brothers Karamazov, his final and greatest work, he went to the core. 3 brothers, Dmitri, Ivan, Alyosha. Each one represents a response to the crisis of meaning. Dmitri is passion without discipline, wild, chaotic, destroyed by his own desires. Ivan is intellect without faith, rational, nihilistic, tortured by the silence of God. Alyosha is faith without naivety, humble, grounded, the only one who survives intact. And the book's central question, the question Dostoevsky spent his entire life asking, if God is dead, is everything permitted? Ivan believes yes. If there's no divine order, no ultimate meaning, then morality is just a human construct, an illusion. And he's technically right. But here's what Dostoevsky shows. Ivan goes mad, not because he's wrong logically, but because he's wrong existentially. He cannot live in the world he's created, a world without meaning, without order, without love. And in his madness, he's visited by the devil, not a red demon with horns, a well-dressed gentleman, charming, intelligent, mocking. And the devil tells Ivan the truth. You're right, everything is permitted, so why are you suffering? And Ivan realizes, permissibility isn't freedom, it's hell, because when everything is permitted, nothing matters. And when nothing matters, you're alone, completely, unbearably, alone. Peterson sees this pattern everywhere. He's worked with men who've achieved everything: money, status, freedom, and they're miserable, because achievement without meaning is just accumulation. It doesn't fill the void, it expands it. So what's the answer? Dostoevsky gives it through Father Zosima, Alyosha's mentor, a monk, wise, compassionate. And Zosima teaches one principle: love in action, not abstract love, not theoretical compassion, actual, embodied, sacrificial love, taking responsibility for someone, for something, binding yourself to it, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Peterson echoes this. He says, pick up your suffering voluntarily. Find the heaviest weight you can bear and carry it. Not because suffering is good, but because meaning is found in the carrying, in the responsibility, in the act of shouldering the burden. That's what saves you. Not ideas, not theories, not cleverness. Action, commitment, responsibility. The opposite of the underground. Now, here's where Dostoevsky's prophecy becomes disturbing. He predicted a specific type of man would emerge. The man-God. Not God-man. That's Christ. Humility incarnate. The man-God is the opposite. The man who rejects divine authority and tries to become God himself. Nietzsche called him the Übermensch. The Soviet Union tried to build him, the perfect rational man. No need for religion, no need for tradition, just science, just progress, just the will to power. And what happened? 60 million dead, gulags, purges, starvation. The man-God doesn't create paradise. He creates hell. Because when man tries to become God, he becomes demon. Dostoevsky saw this. He saw it in the radicals of his time, the revolutionaries, the nihilists, the ones who wanted to tear everything down and rebuild from scratch. And he warned. In Demons, in The Grand Inquisitor, he warned that the man-God always leads to tyranny. Always. Because if man is the highest authority, then might makes right. Power defines truth, and the weak are expendable. And here's the connection to today. We're living in Dostoevsky's nightmare. We've rejected God, rejected tradition, rejected any authority higher than the self. And what have we replaced it with? Algorithms, corporations, the state. We've traded the divine for the machine, and the machine doesn't love you. It doesn't care about your soul. It cares about your data, your attention, your compliance. Peterson warns about this constantly. He calls it the rise of the tyrannical collective. When individuals lose their connection to transcendent meaning, they become dependent on the group, the tribe, the ideology, and that dependency makes them controllable. Dostoevsky wrote, Without God, man becomes a slave, not to a king, to chaos, to his own worst impulses, to whoever promises to fill the void. And young men today, they feel this. They sense they're being enslaved, not by chains, by comfort, by distraction, by the slow erosion of their will, and they don't know how to fight it, because the fight requires what they've been taught to abandon, meaning responsibility, faith. So what does this mean for you? Right now, 2025, Dostoevsky is asking you to see clearly. You are the underground man, aware, cynical, paralyzed, or you're Raskolnikov, convinced you can create your own values, or you're Ivan, tortured by the silence of the divine, or you're beginning to understand that the solution isn't in the intellect, it's in the act, the commitment, the burden. Peterson says it simply: do something difficult, voluntarily, for someone other than yourself. That's the way out. Not through enlightenment, through responsibility, not through understanding, through action, not through theory, through love, embodied, committed, real. And it's hard. It will cost you your comfort, your irony, your detachment. But here's what Dostoevsky promises. On the other side of that sacrifice is meaning, not happiness. Meaning. And meaning is what you've been searching for all along. Dostoevsky spent 4 years in a Siberian labor camp, surrounded by murderers, thieves, broken men, and he emerged with one conviction: suffering isn't the enemy. Meaningless suffering is, and the difference is responsibility. When you choose your suffering, when you accept it as a part of your path, it transforms. It becomes sacred. It becomes the story, the narrative, the reason you exist. Peterson lived this. Depression, illness, addiction in his family. He could have collapsed. He could have gone underground, but he didn't. He carried it. He wrote about it. He turned suffering into meaning. And men around the world responded because they recognized themselves in the struggle, in the burden, in the refusal to quit. That's Dostoevsky's final message. You're not lost because the world is broken. You're lost because you've abandoned your cross, the specific, individual, unbearable weight that only you can carry. And the moment you pick it up, you find yourself, not in comfort, in the carrying. Here's what Dostoevsky actually said in a letter written near the end of his life. He wrote, "I have come to believe that the meaning of life is to suffer and endure, to take up your suffering as a gift, to see in it the hand of God." He wasn't speaking religiously. He was speaking existentially, because suffering reveals what matters. It strips away the superficial, the performative, the fake, and it leaves you with one question: what will I do with this? Most men answer with resentment, with bitterness, with retreat, but a few, a very few, answer with resolve, with action, with love, and those men, they become something else. Not perfect, not pain-free, but real, grounded, unshakable. Dostoevsky called them the living, the ones who chose life, even in suffering, especially in suffering. And Peterson asks, are you choosing life or are you choosing comfort? Because you can't have both. Life demands sacrifice, comfort demands nothing, and nothing is what you'll become. Look around. How many men do you know who seem hollow, who scroll endlessly, work jobs they hate, date without connection, speak without depth? They're alive, but not living. They're underground. And the tragedy is, they think this is freedom. Freedom from responsibility. Freedom from judgment. Freedom from the burden. But Dostoevsky saw the truth. Freedom from responsibility is slavery to chaos. Freedom from judgment is slavery to guilt. Freedom from the burden is slavery to meaninglessness. Real freedom comes through the opposite, through embracing the weight, through accepting the call, through saying, "This is mine. I will carry it. I will not quit." And when you do that, when you truly commit, something shifts. The world responds, not with ease, with meaning, with purpose, with the sense that you're finally doing what you were made for. And that brings us to the most disturbing part. Dostoevsky believed time was running out. He believed humanity was approaching a threshold, a choice point between two futures. The first, the man-god. Humanity has its own highest authority, progress without restraint, power without conscience, technology without wisdom. And this path leads to destruction, to the tyranny Dostoevsky warned about, to the reduction of human beings into functions, into data, into replaceable parts. The second, the God-man, humanity in submission to something higher, not blind faith, conscious humility, recognizing limits, accepting suffering, loving sacrificially. And this path leads to redemption, not utopia, redemption, the restoration of meaning, of soul, of the sacred. Peterson believes we're at that same threshold, right now, in 2025. And the choice isn't political, it's personal. It's in every decision you make, every responsibility you accept, every burden you carry or refuse to carry. And the question is, which path are you on? Dostoevsky saw something most refuse to see, not because it's complicated, but because it demands everything. It demands you stop hiding, stop theorizing, stop waiting for the world to give you permission to be who you are, to do what you know you must do. And that's terrifying, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can't go back underground. You can't pretend it's enough. The comfort, the distraction, the endless deferral of meaning. You have to choose, life or death, meaning or chaos, the burden or the void. And most people choose the void, because it's easier, because it asks nothing, but you're still here, still listening. So maybe you're different. Maybe you're one of the few, ready to carry the weight. If this opened your eyes to something you've been avoiding, hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Because here at the Hidden Codex, we don't offer easy answers. We offer the truth, the uncomfortable, the necessary, the kind that changes you. Next time, we'll explore what Carl Jung discovered in his darkest descent, the confrontation with the shadow, and why most men never survive it. You don't want to miss that. Until then, pick up your cross, whatever it is, whoever it's for, and carry it. That's how you find yourself. That's how you become real. Stay awake.